Maya Rodriguez checked her datapad one more time. The numbers looked good. Very good. For 6 months, she had been watching how different alien species worked together on Haven Point Station. Her job was simple: study how beings from different worlds could live and work in peace. The research station floated quietly in deep space, far from any planet. It was home to scientists from 12 different worlds. Maya was the only human aboard, but she never felt alone. The alien cadets made sure of that. She walked through the science wing, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The walls were painted white and blue, colors that most species found calming. Through the large windows, she could see stars scattered across the darkness of space like tiny diamonds. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," a voice called out behind her. Maya turned and smiled. Zix bounced toward her, his crystal skin catching the light from the ceiling panels. The young Catherian was barely 3 feet tall, with a body that looked like it was made of living glass. When he was happy, which was most of the time around Maya, his crystal parts glowed with soft blue light. "What is it, Zix?" Maya asked, kneeling down to his level. "I finished the plant growth study. Look." Zix held up a small device that showed charts and numbers. The earth tomatoes grew 30% faster when we played music to them. Maya looked at the data. "This is great work. Did you test different types of music?" "Yes, rock music made them grow the fastest. Classical music made them grow the slowest." Zix's crystals flickered with excitement. "I think plants like loud sounds. Or maybe they were trying to grow faster to get away from the noise," Maya said with a laugh. Zix giggled, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. He had been scared of Maya when she first arrived. Catherians were naturally shy, and humans had a reputation for being aggressive. But Maya had been patient with him. She brought him small gifts and spoke to him in soft voices. Now he followed her around the station like a loyal pet. Heavy footsteps made the floor shake slightly. Kor appeared around the corner, ducking his massive head to fit through the doorway. The young Vorthak stood nearly 8 feet tall and weighed at least 400 pounds. His thick gray skin was covered in small ridges and his forearms hung at his sides. Despite his size, Kor was one of the gentlest beings Maya had ever met. "Hello, Lieutenant," Kor said in his deep, rumbling voice. "I finished moving the equipment to storage room 7. "All of it?" Maya asked. The equipment had been heavy enough to require 3 normal beings to move. "Yes, it was not difficult." Kor looked down at his feet. He always seemed embarrassed by his strength. A small blue shape shot between Kor's legs and skidded to a stop in front of Maya. Pip. The young Zilani was no bigger than a house cat, but moved faster than anything Maya had ever seen. Her fur was bright blue with silver spots, and her large eyes took up most of her small face. "Maya, Maya!" Pip squeaked in her high voice. "Did you see the new ships that arrived this morning?" "I saw them on the scanner reports," Maya said. "Supply ships from the outer colonies." "No, not those ships." Pip bounced from foot to foot. "Big ships, scary-looking ships. They are far away but getting closer." Maya felt a small chill run down her spine. "What kind of ships, Pip?" Before Pip could answer, another voice interrupted them. "She is talking about the merchant vessels that passed through Sector 7 this morning." Nala walked toward them with calm, measured steps. The young Arxian was tall and thin, with golden skin and silver hair that she kept braided down her back. Her large eyes were bright green, and they always seemed to be judging everything around her. "Those were not merchant ships," Pip argued. "They looked mean." "All ships look the same to you," Nala said. "You get excited about everything." Pip's ears drooped. Maya stepped in before an argument could start. "Why don't we all go to the observation deck?" Maya suggested. "We can look at the scanner data together." The group walked through the station corridors. Maya had learned that each of the young aliens responded to different types of leadership. Zix needed gentle encouragement. Kor needed someone to believe in him. Pip needed to feel included. Nala needed to feel respected. They were all part of the Galactic Youth Exchange program. Young beings from different worlds came to Haven Point to learn about science and cooperation. Maya had volunteered to be their mentor because she believed in what the program stood for. In her 2 years as a Marine, she had seen too much fighting between different groups. Here, she could help build something better. The observation deck was Maya's favorite part of the station. The entire front wall was made of clear metal that showed space in all directions. Computer screens lined the other walls, showing data about everything happening around the station. Commander Blake Turner stood at the main console, studying scanner reports. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Maya had worked with him for 6 months and had learned to read his moods. Right now he looked worried. "Commander," Maya said, "is everything all right?" Turner looked up at her and the 4 young aliens. "Oh, hello, Maya, just routine traffic monitoring." Nothing to worry about. But Maya could see the tension in his shoulders. She had learned to read people during her military service. Turner was definitely worried about something. Zix pressed his crystal face against the clear wall. "I love looking at the stars. They make me feel peaceful." "Space is very big," Kor said quietly. "Sometimes it makes me feel small." "You could never be small," Pip said, jumping onto Kor's shoulder. "You are the biggest person I know." Nala studied the scanner displays. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, what do those red dots mean?" Maya looked at the screen Nala was pointing to. She saw several small red marks moving across the display. They were still far away, but they were definitely heading toward Haven Point. "Those are probably cargo ships," Maya said, but something felt wrong. The ships were moving in a formation that seemed too organized for merchants. Turner cleared his throat. "Maya, could I speak with you privately?" Maya nodded. She told the young aliens to stay in the observation deck and practice using the scanner equipment. Then she followed Turner to his office. "What is it, Blake?" Maya asked when the door closed. Turner sat down heavily in his chair. "Those ships Pip saw this morning, they are not merchants." Maya felt her stomach tighten. "What are they?" "We think they might be Crimson Raiders." Maya had heard of the Crimson Raiders. They were pirates who attacked research stations and cargo ships. They stole valuable data and equipment and sometimes took prisoners to sell as slaves. "How sure are you?" Maya asked. 70%. Their ship designs match known raider vessels, and their movement pattern is wrong for merchants. Turner rubbed his forehead. "I have already sent a message to the nearest patrol fleet, but they are 3 days away." "What do we do if they are raiders?" "We follow evacuation procedures. All non-essential personnel go to the escape pods. Security teams prepare defensive positions." Turner looked at Maya. "Your young aliens will be in the first evacuation group." Maya nodded, but her mind was already working on other plans. She had spent 6 months building trust with Zix, Kor, Pip, and Nala. They looked up to her as more than just a teacher. They saw her as their protector. If danger was coming to Haven Point, Maya would make sure her students were ready for it. She just hoped they would never need to be. The alarm started screaming at Arrow 847 station time. Maya was in the main lab, checking the morning data reports with her 4 students. The sudden noise made them all jump. Red lights flashed on every wall and a computer voice began speaking in calm, measured tones. "Alert. Alert. Unknown vessels approaching. All personnel report to emergency stations." "This is not a drill." Zix's crystal body went completely clear, which meant he was terrified. Kor's forearms wrapped around himself. Pip darted behind Maya's legs and stayed there. Nala stood perfectly still, but Maya could see her hands shaking. "What does that mean?" Zix whispered. Before Maya could answer, her communication device crackled to life. Commander Turner's voice came through tight with stress. "All department heads to the command center immediately. Security teams to positions. Begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel." Maya looked at her students. Fear showed clearly on all their faces. She had to stay calm for them. "Listen to me," she said in her steadiest voice. "We practice this. Remember the evacuation drills. We go to Assembly Point 3 and wait for instructions." They moved through the corridors quickly. Other people were moving too, but Maya noticed something wrong. Everyone was moving too fast, and some were running. That meant this was not a normal evacuation drill. Captain Jake Morrison came around the corner, moving at a quick walk. He wore full combat gear and carried a rifle. Maya had met him several times. He was the head of station security and a good soldier. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," he said, stopping beside her. "Get your students to the escape pods now." "What is happening, Captain?" Morrison looked at the 4 young aliens, then back at Maya. "Crimson Raiders. At least 6 ships. They will be here in 20 minutes. Maya felt ice in her stomach. She looked down at Zix, who was now completely transparent with fear. Kor was making a low humming sound that Vorthax made when they were scared. Pip had grabbed onto Maya's leg and would not let go. Nala was trying to look brave, but Maya could see tears in her green eyes. "Come on," Maya said. "Let us go to the escape pods." They reached the evacuation area to find chaos. People were pushing and shoving to get into the small escape pods. Each pod could hold 8 people. But there were not enough pods for everyone on the station. A technician was checking names on a list. "Young aliens go first," he said when he saw Maya's group. "Pod 7 is ready." Maya started to lead her students toward Pod 7 when every light on the station went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, but now everything was bathed in red light. Then the communication systems went dead. "They are jamming us," Morrison said, appearing beside Maya again, "and they knocked out our main power. These are not ordinary pirates." An explosion shook the entire station. The lights flickered and Maya heard metal groaning under stress. Another explosion followed, then another. "They are attacking the docking bays," Morrison said, "trying to disable our escape pods." Pip squeaked in terror and climbed up Maya's back to sit on her shoulders. Zix moved closer to Maya's legs. Kor bent down and wrapped his forearms around both Maya and Zix. Nala pressed against Maya's side. "What do we do?" Nala asked. Morrison was talking into his radio, but only static came back. He cursed under his breath, then looked at Maya. "The escape pods are not safe. They are targeting them specifically." He handed Maya a small weapon. "Take your students back to the science wing. Find a secure room and lock the door. Do not come out until you hear from me or Commander Turner. What about you? I'm going to try to coordinate with the other security teams. We have to slow them down until help arrives." Morrison looked at the 4 young aliens. "Keep them safe, Maya. You are all they have now." Morrison ran toward the front of the station. Maya looked at the small weapon in her hand. It was a standard station security gun, designed to stop people without killing them. Against professional pirates, it would not be very effective. "Come on," she told her students. "We go back to the lab." They moved through corridors that were now filled with smoke and strange sounds. Maya could hear fighting somewhere in the distance. Weapons fire echoed through the metal walls. People were shouting, but Maya could not tell if they were station personnel or raiders. They reached the science wing without meeting anyone. Maya led them into the main lab and locked the door. She moved to the wall panel and activated the emergency seal. Steel plates slid down over the windows and doors, turning the lab into a metal box. "Are we safe now?" Zix asked in a very small voice. Maya looked around the room. The lab had one door, no windows, and walls that were designed to contain dangerous experiments. It was a good hiding place, but it was also a trap. If the raiders found them, there would be no way to escape. "We are safer," Maya said, "but we need to be ready in case someone tries to get in." She moved to the equipment lockers and started pulling out tools. Most of them were designed for scientific work, but Maya's military training helped her see other uses. A plasma torch could be a weapon. Chemical compounds could make smoke or noise. Lab tables could be barriers. "What are you doing?" Nala asked. "Making preparations," Maya said. "Zix, can you use your crystal abilities to make light?" "Yes, but why?" "If the power goes out, we will need to see." "Kor, can you help me move these tables?" The big Vorthak nodded and easily lifted a heavy metal table. Together, they built a barrier near the door. Pip was still on Maya's shoulder, shaking. "I am scared," she whispered. "I know," Maya said. "But being scared is normal. The important thing is what we do when we are scared." An explosion, much closer this time, shook the lab. Tools fell off tables and crashed to the floor. Emergency lights flickered on and off. "They are in our section," Nala said. Maya heard footsteps in the corridor outside, then voices speaking in a language she did not recognize. The footsteps stopped right outside their door. Something hit the door. Hard. The metal bent slightly inward. "They are trying to break in," Kor whispered. Maya moved behind the barrier they had built and motioned for her students to get down. She checked her weapon and tried to remember everything she had learned in the Marines about close combat. The door shook again. Maya could hear power tools working on the lock mechanism. Whoever was out there knew what they were doing. "Listen to me," Maya said quietly. "When that door opens, stay behind this barrier. Do exactly what I tell you to do. Do not try to be heroes. What if they hurt you?" Zix asked. Maya looked at the 4 young beings who had become like family to her. Zix with his gentle crystal nature, Kor with his huge heart, Pip with her endless energy, Nala with her quiet strength. They were counting on her to protect them. "They will not hurt me," Maya said. "I promise." She hoped she was telling the truth. The door exploded inward with a shower of sparks and metal pieces. 3 figures in black armor stepped through the smoke. They carried military-grade weapons and moved like professional soldiers, Crimson Raiders. Maya raised her weapon and fired. The first shot hit the lead raider in the chest. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but it staggered him. Maya fired again, then rolled sideways as the raiders returned fire. Energy bolts burned holes in the wall where Maya had been standing. She came up behind a different table and fired again. This time her shot hit a raider in the shoulder, spinning him around. "Stay down!" Maya shouted to her students. The raiders advanced into the room, using the doorway for cover. Maya could see that her small weapon was not going to stop them. She needed a different plan. She grabbed a container of chemical compound from the nearest shelf and threw it at the raiders. The container broke open, releasing a cloud of thick yellow smoke that filled the room. In the confusion, Maya moved to a different position. She could hear the raiders coughing and cursing. She could also hear her students breathing heavily behind their barrier. "Come out, human," one of the raiders shouted. "We know you are here. Surrender and we will not hurt the younglings." Maya did not believe them for a second. She waited in the smoke, listening for footsteps. When one of the raiders moved past her hiding spot, she jumped out and hit him with a heavy metal tool. He went down hard. The other two raiders opened fire wildly, trying to hit Maya in the smoke. Their shots went everywhere, destroying lab equipment and burning holes in the walls. Maya used the noise to move again. She found another chemical container and threw it in a different direction. More smoke filled the room, but the smoke was clearing near the door and Maya could see more raiders coming. At least 4 more, all with better weapons than the first group. Maya realized that her small weapon and clever tricks would not be enough. She was one person with basic equipment, facing professional killers with military gear. She looked back at the barrier where her students were hiding. They were counting on her to keep them safe. They trusted her completely. Maya Rodriguez had been a good Marine. She had fought in 2 wars and never lost a battle. She was not going to start losing now. Maya crouched behind the overturned lab table, her mind working faster than it had since her military days. The smoke from the broken chemical containers was clearing, and she could see 4 more raiders moving through the doorway. Their armor was better than the first group, and their weapons looked military grade. She had 1 small security pistol with maybe 6 shots left. They had assault rifles and combat gear, but Maya had something they did not have. She had 4 young aliens who trusted her completely, and she had spent 6 months learning exactly what each of them could do. "Zix," she whispered, barely loud enough for him to hear. "Can you make your crystal light very bright? Like you did when you were showing off last month?" The young Kitherian nodded, his transparent body flickering with nervous energy. "Core, remember when you moved that heavy equipment by yourself? Can you do that again, but fast?" The big Vorthak's deep voice rumbled quietly. "Yes, Lieutenant." "Pip, you are the fastest thing on this station. Can you run to that control panel by the door without being seen?" The small Zolani's ears perked up. "I think so." "Nala, you have been watching everything. What do you see that I might have missed?" The young Arxian studied the room carefully. "There is a maintenance shaft above us. The cover is loose, and there are more chemical containers on the far shelf." Maya smiled. These were not just scared children anymore. They were her team. "Listen carefully," Maya said. "We are going to fight back. But we do it together and we do it smart." The raiders were moving deeper into the lab using tables and equipment for cover. Their leader was speaking into a radio. "Science Lab 7 is secure. 5 prisoners inside. Beginning extraction." Maya waited until the raiders were spread out across the room. Then she gave Zix a small nod. The young Kitherian concentrated and his crystal body blazed with brilliant white light. The entire room lit up like a tiny sun. The raiders shouted and covered their eyes, temporarily blinded. "Now!" Maya yelled. Core stood up and grabbed the nearest lab table with all 4 arms. The massive piece of equipment must have weighed 300 pounds, but he lifted it like it was made of paper. He threw it at the closest raider, who disappeared under the heavy metal with a crash. Pip became a blue blur, racing across the room faster than the blinded raiders could track. She reached the control panel and slammed her small fist on the emergency button. Steel barriers dropped down, separating 2 of the raiders from the others. Maya came out from behind her cover, firing her weapon at the remaining raiders. Her shots were precise now, aimed at weak spots in their armor. 1 raider stumbled. Another dropped his rifle, but the leader was already recovering from Zix's light burst. He raised his weapon toward Maya. "Look out!" Nala shouted. The young Arxian jumped from behind the barrier and tackled Maya, pushing her out of the way just as the raider fired. The energy bolt burned through the air where Maya had been standing. Maya rolled and came up firing. Her shot caught the raider leader in the faceplate of his helmet. The armored glass cracked and he staggered backward. The chemical shelf. Maya shouted to Kor. The big Vorthak understood immediately. He grabbed the entire shelf unit and tipped it over onto the remaining raiders. Glass containers broke everywhere, releasing clouds of different colored smoke and making the raiders cough and curse. In the confusion, Maya moved to the fallen raider leader. She grabbed his rifle and quickly checked the power settings. "Military grade, fully charged, designed to kill. Everyone get behind the barrier," Maya ordered. Her students moved quickly. Zix's light had dimmed back to normal, but his crystal body was now glowing with confidence instead of fear. Kor looked pleased with himself for the first time since Maya had known him. Pip was bouncing with excitement. Nala had a determined look in her green eyes. 2 more raiders came through the doorway wearing masks to protect against the chemical smoke. They saw Maya with the rifle and immediately took cover. "You cannot win, human," one of them shouted. "There are dozens of us on this station." Maya did not answer. She was studying the room looking for advantages. The raiders had training and equipment, but they did not know the lab like she did. They did not know about the power systems, the ventilation controls, or the emergency protocols, and they definitely did not know what her students could do. "Pip," Maya said quietly, "that ventilation grate above us. Can you get up there?" The small Zelani nodded. "Easy. There should be controls for the air system about 10 feet down the shaft. If you can reach them, activate the emergency purge cycle." Pip's eyes went wide. "That will suck all the air out of this room. Only for 30 seconds. We can hold our breath. They cannot shoot straight while they are choking." Kor lifted Pip up to the ceiling, where she quickly removed the loose grate cover and disappeared into the ventilation shaft. Maya could hear the raiders moving, trying to get a better position. She kept them pinned down with carefully placed shots while she waited for Pip to reach the controls. "6, Maya said. "When the air purge starts, I need you to make light again. But this time, make it pulse like a strobe light. Fast pulses that will confuse them." "I can do that," Zix said. His confidence was growing by the minute. "Nala, watch everything. Tell me what you see that might help." "There is another group coming," Nala reported, looking at a small security monitor. 6 more raiders moving down the corridor toward us." Maya felt a cold chill. Even with her new tactics, she could not fight 11 armed raiders in an open battle. But she did not have to fight them all at once. "Kor, can you block that doorway? Make it so they cannot get through easily." The young Vorthak looked around the room and spotted a heavy equipment cabinet. "Yes, but it will be loud." "Good. I want it to be loud." Kor grabbed the cabinet and wrestled it across the room. The metal scraped against the floor with a horrible screeching sound. He wedged it into the doorway, creating a narrow opening that only one person could fit through at a time. A soft whistling sound came from the ceiling vents. Pip had found the controls. "Everyone hold your breath," Maya shouted. The air purge system activated with a deep humming sound. All the air in the room was sucked out through the vents and replaced with clean air from the station's reserves. It was designed to clear dangerous chemical leaks in 30 seconds. The raiders immediately started choking and gasping. Their masks helped, but they were not designed for complete air loss. Now Zix. The young Catherian's body began flashing like a broken light. Bright white pulses filled the room every half second, making it impossible for the raiders to aim properly. Maya used the confusion to move closer to the raiders. She could hold her breath much longer than they could thanks to her military training. She reached the first raider just as he was trying to adjust his mask. Maya hit him with the rifle butt, knocking him unconscious. The second raider was on his knees, gasping for air. Maya took his weapon and ammunition. The air purge cycle ended and normal breathing returned to the room. Maya now had 2 military rifles and plenty of ammunition, but she could hear the other raiders outside, trying to move the equipment cabinet that Kor had used to block the door. "They are coming through," Nala reported. Maya looked at her students. They were not cowering behind the barrier anymore. Zix was ready to use his light powers. Kor was looking for something else to throw. Pip had dropped down from the ceiling and was waiting for new orders. Nala was watching the entrance like a guard. In the space of 15 minutes, 4 scared younglings had become her tactical team. "Listen to me," Maya said. "We are not just hiding anymore. We are going to fight, but we fight smart and we fight together." She handed one of the captured rifles to Nala. "Do you know how to use this?" Nala examined the weapon carefully. "The basic principles are the same as Arxian hunting rifles. Point and shoot, Maya smiled. Her students were full of surprises. The equipment cabinet scraped aside, and the first of the new raiders appeared in the narrow opening. Maya and Nala opened fire together. The war for the science lab had really begun. The battle for the science lab lasted 3 hours. Maya had never imagined that 4 young aliens could learn combat tactics so quickly. But humans had always been good at teaching others to fight, and her students proved to be excellent learners. After they fought off the second group of raiders, Maya realized that defense was not enough. The pirates kept coming, and sooner or later they would break through with enough force to overwhelm the lab's defenses. We need to take the fight to them, Maya told her team during a brief quiet period. They were no longer hiding behind the barrier. Instead, they had spread out across the lab, each taking responsibility for watching different approaches. Zix monitored the ventilation systems from his position near the ceiling panels. Core had built additional barriers using lab equipment, creating a maze that forced attackers to move single file. Pip scouted the corridors through maintenance shafts, reporting on raider movements. Nala had learned to use the captured rifle with deadly accuracy. What do you mean? Nala asked, checking her weapon's power level. The raiders think we are trapped in here, Maya explained. They are probably calling for more troops to surround us. But if we can get into the corridors, we can hit them from directions they do not expect. Core looked worried. But the corridors are dangerous. They have more room to surround us. Not if we move smart, Maya said. Pip, what did you see in the maintenance areas? The small Zilani had just returned from another scouting trip. There are lots of ways to move around without using the main corridors. Maintenance shafts, service tubes, emergency passages. Most of them are too small for adult humans, but perfect for us. Maya smiled. The raiders were used to fighting other humans and similarly sized aliens. They would not expect attacks from tiny passages that only children could use. Here is what we're going to do, Maya said. We split into 2 teams. Nala comes with me through the main corridors. Zix, Core, and Pip use the maintenance passages to get behind the raiders. What if we get separated? Zix asked. His crystal body flickered with worry. Then we keep fighting until we find each other again, Maya said firmly. But we will not get separated. We are a team now. They spent 20 minutes planning their first coordinated attack. Maya used her military knowledge to identify weak points in the raiders' positions. Her students added their own ideas, many of which were better than what Maya had originally planned. The young aliens had been watching her for 3 hours, learning not just how to fight, but how to think like a warrior. They understood now that strength was not just about weapons and armor. It was about using everything around you to gain advantage. Their first target was a group of 5 raiders who had set up a checkpoint in the main corridor outside the science wing. The pirates were blocking the path to the emergency communication room, where Maya hoped to contact the rest of the station's defenders. Maya and Nala moved through the lab areas, using equipment and furniture for cover. Meanwhile, Zix, Core, and Pip crawled through maintenance passages that ran above and below the corridor. When Maya and Nala appeared at one end of the corridor, the raiders immediately focused on them. They took cover behind portable barriers and opened fire. What the raiders did not see was Core dropping down from a ceiling panel behind them. The young Vorthak had learned to move quietly despite his massive size. His forearms grabbed 2 raiders before they knew he was there, lifting them off the ground and knocking them unconscious against the walls. At the same time, Zix emerged from a floor panel and blazed with brilliant light, blinding the remaining raiders. Pip darted between their legs so fast that they could not track her movement, cutting power cables to their equipment. Maya and Nala advanced quickly, firing at the confused raiders. Within minutes, the checkpoint was theirs. That was incredible. Pip squeaked, bouncing with excitement. We are getting good at this, Nala said, but Maya could hear the wonder in her voice. They captured the raiders' equipment and moved toward the communication room. Along the way, they encountered 2 more raider teams. Each fight was easier than the last, because Maya's students were learning to work together like a real military unit. Zix discovered that he could use his crystal abilities to do more than just make light. He could create small crystal formations that worked like mirrors, letting the team see around corners. He could also focus light into tight beams that worked like laser pointers, blinding enemies from a distance. Core learned that his strength was most useful when combined with stealth. He could move heavy objects to create new pathways, or rip apart raider equipment with his bare hands. His gentle nature actually helped him move quietly, because he was naturally careful about where he stepped. Pip became their perfect scout and saboteur. She could crawl through spaces that no one else could reach, and her speed let her disable raider equipment before they could react. She also learned to use her size as a weapon, darting between enemy legs to trip them or tangle their gear. Nala proved to have natural leadership instincts. When Maya was focused on shooting, Nala coordinated the others. She also had excellent aim with the captured rifle and never wasted shots. When they finally reached the communication room, Maya was amazed by how much her students had changed. 3 hours ago, they had been terrified younglings hiding behind laboratory tables. Now they moved like experienced soldiers. The communication room was heavily defended by 8 raiders. It was their most difficult fight yet. "This is going to be dangerous," Maya warned her team. "They have good positions and lots of firepower." "We can do it," Nala said confidently. "We just need a good plan." They spent 10 minutes studying the raider positions and planning their attack. Everyone contributed ideas. Maya was proud to see that her students were now thinking several steps ahead, anticipating what the enemy might do. The attack was their most complex yet. Pip disabled the raiders' communication equipment by crawling through air vents and cutting cables. Zix created a series of mirror crystal formations that let Maya and Nala see exactly where each raider was positioned. Core created a distraction by tearing apart a wall panel in a different corridor, making the raiders think they were being attacked from another direction. When the actual fight started, Maya's team moved like they had been working together for years. Each person knew exactly what to do and when to do it. The battle lasted only 5 minutes. When it was over, all 8 raiders were unconscious or had surrendered. Maya activated the communication system and immediately heard familiar voices. "This is Captain Morrison. Any station personnel, please respond." "Morrison, this is Lieutenant Rodriguez. I am in Communication Room 7 with 4 students. We have secured this section." There was a long pause. "Maya, how is that possible?" "That section was reported overrun 2 hours ago." "We fought back," Maya said simply. "We are on our way to your position. Hold what you have." Maya looked at her 4 students. They were tired and dirty, but they stood straight and proud. Zix's crystal body glowed with confidence. Core no longer tried to make himself look smaller. Pip sat on his shoulder like a tiny general. Nala held her rifle like she had been born with it in her hands. "How do you feel?" Maya asked them. "Tired," Zix said, "but good tired. Like after a hard day of learning." "I feel strong," Core said. "Not just my body. My spirit feels strong too." "I feel fast and smart," Pip added. "Like I can do anything." Nala thought for a moment before answering. "I feel like I understand what courage really means now. It is not about not being afraid. It is about protecting the people you care about even when you are afraid." Maya smiled. Her students had learned the most important lesson of all. When Captain Morrison arrived with a squad of security officers, he stopped in the doorway and stared. The communication room was filled with disabled raider equipment and unconscious pirates. Maya and her 4 students stood in the center, alert and ready for anything. "Lieutenant," Morrison said slowly, "what exactly happened here?" Maya looked at her students, who looked back at her with trust and affection. "We learned to fight," she said, but Maya knew it was more than that. They had learned to be warriors. And once you learn to be a warrior to protect others, you never stop being one. The last raider ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen through the station's observation windows. Maya stood in the command center, watching the debris scatter into space. Her 4 students stood beside her, no longer hiding behind her legs or seeking her protection. Instead, they formed a protective circle around her, alert for any remaining threats. Commander Turner finished speaking with the rescue fleet that had arrived 3 hours earlier. When he turned to face Maya and her team, his expression was one of amazement and respect. "The raider fleet is completely destroyed," Turner announced. 12 ships, over 300 pirates. None escaped." Captain Morrison approached Maya with a tablet full of reports. "I have been talking to security teams from all over the station," he said. "Everyone wants to know about you and your students." Maya raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Your counterattacks disrupted the entire raider operation," Morrison explained. When word spread that the science wing was fighting back, it inspired everyone else. Security teams stopped retreating and started advancing. Civilian workers started fighting instead of hiding. You turned the whole battle around." Maya looked at Zix, Core, Pip, and Nala. They seemed surprised by Morrison's words. "We just did what we had to do," Nala said. "That is exactly the point," Turner said, walking over to join them. "6 hours ago you were students in a peaceful research program. Now you are being called heroes by everyone on the station." Zix's crystal body flickered with embarrassment. "We are not heroes. We just learned from Lieutenant Rodriguez." "What exactly did you learn?" Turner asked. Kor spoke up, his deep voice more confident than Maya had ever heard it. "We learned that being afraid is normal, but being afraid does not mean you have to be helpless. We learned that fighting is not about being angry," Pip added, sitting on Kor's shoulder as usual. "It is about protecting people you care about." "We learned that everyone has different abilities," Zix said. "But when you work together, those abilities become stronger." Nala was quiet for a moment, then said, "We learned that courage is not something you are born with. It is something you choose every time you have to make a hard decision." Turner nodded slowly. "And what are you going to do with those lessons?" The 4 young aliens looked at each other, then at Maya. Something passed between them, a silent understanding that Maya could see but not quite grasp. "We are going to keep learning," Nala said, "and we are going to keep protecting people." Over the next several weeks, Maya watched her students change even more. Word of their actions had spread throughout the Galactic Research Consortium. Young beings from dozens of worlds requested transfers to Haven Point, wanting to learn from the human who had taught 4 students to become warriors in a single day. But Maya noticed that her original 4 students were different from the new arrivals. Zix, Kor, Pip, and Nala carried themselves with quiet confidence. They helped train the new students, but they also appointed themselves as Maya's personal guards. Everywhere Maya went on the station, at least one of them was nearby. When she worked late in the lab, Kor would find excuses to organize equipment in the same room. When she ate in the dining hall, Zix would sit at her table and make cheerful conversation while his crystal eyes constantly scanned for potential threats. When she walked through the corridors, Pip would dart ahead to check each intersection. When she attended meetings, Nala would position herself where she could see everyone in the room. They were protecting her, just as she had protected them. Maya realized this one evening when she was walking to her quarters after a long day of research. As usual, all 4 of her students happened to be in the same corridor, moving in the same direction. "You know you do not have to escort me everywhere," Maya said with a smile. "We are not escorting you," Nala said innocently. "We just happen to be going the same way." "My quarters are on a different deck from all of yours," Maya pointed out. Pip giggled. "We are taking the long way." Maya stopped walking and turned to face them. "Listen to me. You do not owe me anything. You fought beside me because you chose to, not because you had to." "That is exactly why we want to stay close," Kor said. "You taught us to choose courage. Now we choose to make sure you are safe." Zix nodded, his crystal body glowing softly. "On my world, when someone saves your life, you owe them a life debt. But this is not about debt. This is about family." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. In 6 months of working with these young beings, she had thought she was teaching them about science and cooperation. She had not realized that they were teaching her about loyalty and love. "Besides," Pip said, bouncing from foot to foot, "you taught us that protecting people is what makes you strong. We want to stay strong." 3 months later, Maya received new orders. The Galactic Research Consortium wanted her to establish a new training program, teaching young beings from different worlds how to work together in crisis situations. It was a promotion and an honor. It also meant leaving Haven Point. Maya gathered her 4 students in the observation deck where they had spent so many peaceful hours before the attack. She explained her new assignment and what it would mean. "You will be traveling to different worlds," Nala said when Maya finished speaking, "teaching other young beings what you taught us." "Yes," Maya said, "but you 4 will stay here. You have your own studies to complete." Zix's crystal body went completely clear, which Maya now knew meant he was thinking very hard about something important. "What if we went with you?" he asked quietly. Maya blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" "The new program," Kor said. "You will need assistance. People who understand what you are trying to teach." "We could help," Pip said eagerly. "We know what it feels like to be scared and then learn to be brave." Nala stepped forward. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, you taught us that protecting others is the most important thing we can do. Let us help you protect the next group of students." Maya looked at the 4 young beings who had become her family. They were no longer the frightened children who had hidden behind her during the raider attack. They stood straight and confident, ready to face whatever challenges came next. But more than that, they were ready to help others face those same challenges. It would be dangerous, Maya warned. We would be traveling to worlds where there might be conflict. Some species might not welcome us. Then it is a good thing we learned how to fight, Nala said with a small smile. Maya made her decision. I will speak to Commander Turner about including you in the program. 6 months later, Maya stood on the bridge of the transport ship Harmony, watching a new star system grow larger through the viewing screen. Beside her stood 4 young beings who were no longer students, but partners in the most important work she had ever done. Six monitored the communication systems, his crystal abilities now so refined that he could detect signals from dozens of worlds simultaneously. Core managed the ship's cargo bay, which was filled with training equipment and supplies for their new school. Pip scouted ahead of their group whenever they arrived at a new world, gathering information about local conditions and potential challenges. Nala coordinated with local authorities and parents, explaining their program and building trust. Together, they had already established training centers on 5 worlds. Hundreds of young beings had learned the same lessons that Maya had taught during that terrible day on Haven Point. Courage is a choice. Fear is normal, and protecting others makes you stronger than any weapon. But Maya had learned something too. She had discovered that the greatest teachers are not those who simply pass on knowledge. The greatest teachers are those who inspire their students to become teachers themselves. As the Harmony approached their next destination, Maya felt a familiar presence beside her. She looked down to see Pip perched on the ship's railing, her blue fur bright in the starlight. What are you thinking about? Pip asked. I am thinking about how much you have all grown, Maya said. 6 months ago you were hiding behind me. Now you walk ahead of me, making sure the path is safe. Pip tilted her small head. We learned from the best teacher in the galaxy. Maya smiled. No, Pip, you learned from each other. I just showed you how to start. Through the viewing screen, Maya could see their destination world growing larger. Somewhere on that planet were more young beings who needed to learn about courage and teamwork, and the strength that comes from protecting others. Maya was no longer just a teacher. She was the leader of a team of guardians who would make sure that no child, anywhere in the galaxy, would ever have to face their fears alone. Behind her, Zix, Kor, and Nala worked at their stations, preparing for another mission. They moved with the quiet confidence of beings who knew exactly who they were and what they stood for. They were protectors. They were teachers. They were family. And they were just getting started.